Get ready. This is right up Kassad's angle. Just get ready, Maui. I actually low-key love the fans who submit takes that is. So remember, by the way, guys, if you don't want to say your username, write it in the comment. Wesy Wes says mezii is a better big game player than NiKo. Right, get ready, Kassad. Buckle in, bro, buckle in. So these are the reasons. He's given 4 reasons. So reason 1, mezii is beating NiKo's rating in 4 out of 5 maps in the Melbourne final. 2, he is put in much harder positions to gain rating compared to NiKo's freedom. 3, higher impact frags in the anchor position. 4, NiKo was considered a much better player and given a ton of freedom to frag, yet mezii pretty much matches his ratings versus top 10 in much harder positions. Thoughts?
What's his name?
Wesy Wes.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a stupid name. It comes with this fucking stupid take. He probably like a 10-year-old child that I just called stupid. Anyway, but the thing is...
Get him. Eat this 10-year-old kid alive. Go on.
It's just crazy. But the thing is, like, there's so much nonsense in, like, space of, 35 words that he posted? Like, NiKo has played good in more big games than mezii attended events. Let's just put it like that. mezii has been on the scene since the Cloud9 Colossus thing, and then he was a little bit Fnatic, he was a little bit there, then he managed to get, quarterfinals with Fnatic in Rio, I think? And then he got bought by Vitality, and now he's, playing in this championship team. NiKo has been on the highest level of CS in 2015, since he joined Mouse Sports. Just imagine how many big games, big events, trophies he won by playing good on the big games, right? Show me a big game that mezii overtook and won by himself, or actually contributed more than 60% of impact. Just one game. Since he joined professional Counter-Strike scene, since Fnatic or whatever the fuck, right? 0. In the big games, whenever his team played, who was the main character? ZywOo, Spinks, Robs.
Basically everyone except him.
Yes.
That's really the answer, isn't it? Yeah.
Does he do his job very well? Absolutely. Is he a important part of that fucking team right now? Yeah. On his role. And then he mentioned that he has an anchor role. You answered yourself. Anchor role is a role that basically plays for the team. That basically just allows your star players to have that freedom that you talk about that NiKo has. Or Robs, or, not Robs, but other, those type of players in Donks and stuff, right? Your Zontics, your Magics, your, those players, they hold or create or, create presence or create space and create opportunities for your star players to deliver. That's why they're called star players. The same way you have, Maui as an analyst, he is a star of the show on the fucking broadcast together with a couple of people, and then you have people with turned on cameras. Without turned on cameras, Maui would just be a fucking potato standing looking at a turned off camera. So the support crew is doing good work for Maui to be able to fucking, do his job on the broadcast. The same way goes in Counter-Strike, in basketball, in football, in every fucking sport or any kind of business whatsoever. Right? Somebody needs for you to make a fucking phone call, somebody needs to make sure that the fucking receiver is working so you can have the fucking connection and network, right? So you can make that. So the same way works, the same principle. As an anchor, you cannot be measured by big games. Tell me any anchor outside of Robs and possibly Bit, right, who are out of their league and out of this fucking planet when it comes to skill, that can play ops, especially Robs, that can play fucking anchors, that can play star roles, that can play pistols, they can clutch, they can do whatever the fuck. Sure. Who can do it? Nobody. That's why they're the best. And mezii is a part of it, but he's a bigger player than NiKo in big games, not in a million fucking years. There can be only 2 or 3 players that are better or equal to him in the last 10 years. That's simple. That's ZywOo. Dunk is coming to it. Device was there. Flasha
Maybe Modesty will be one day.
Monesi, yeah. Flasha was there in the past, always good in the big games. Ziptik was always good in the big games, not by numbers, but the moves, the clutches. Glay was always good. Coldzera before Olof. Like, there are players that are really good in big games.
Sure.
Right now, no, but mezii to be put there, I think this guy is just fucking drunk. For
Thoughts,
real.
Maui?
I mean, I don't see how anybody could. With the fact that actually NiKo has won a lot of stuff lately too, or like, you know, especially with last year's G2 and everything, I don't. And with how Falcons are already performing now and how close they're getting, I don't know. The comparison to mezii and NiKo in general is just kind of like, I don't know what they have in common other than they both just rifle. It's just so. Being the 5th best player on a team versus the best or arguably second best, depending on when Monesi gets there, you know, it's just completely different shoes. And it's more like, for me, like mezii, I don't know. In general, I just think the take is kind of whack. But like, if on a greater discussion, I think that the whole, I found this to be an interesting like post-event debate that a few of us had at a Blast event recently, where it was like pimping me on one side versus Launders, Scrawny, and I think Freya were on the other side, where we had this idea of like, would you rather be the best player on the 10th best team in the world or the 5th best player on the best team in the world?
Oh, classic,
And I Pimp and I both said we'd rather be the best player on the 10th best team in the world, because we want to it's almost like we have so much faith in our own abilities and just that belief that we'd rather be the stars, so that a lot of what's happening every game is dependent on us. Whereas if you're the 5th best player, like the line I think Pimp uses is like, you didn't win those trophies. You know, they won those trophies. Yep. You didn't win those trophies. You know, you were there. You were in the backpack, but then Launders, Free, and Scrawny were like, nah, I want to lift the trophies. And it's like, I think it gets kind of hollow a bit quicker.
Shit, Maui, right?
Huh?
That's kind of shit, what you said, right?
What?
Well, I don't think he's going to agree that his own opinion is shit, Kassad. So maybe use your words.
Wait, what do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean?
I'm saying that, like, you know, how would you rather be the number 1 player in the 10th team than the 5th best player in the number 1 team?
Okay,
like,
at the time we made.
Because he'd rather actually be the one that's the reason why the results are happening.
So you have a fucking main character syndrome.
No, it's like, okay, first of all, usually the best player on the 10th best team is like.
Put it this way, Kassad, let me give you this example. Let me give you this example, right? So, to be fair, when they had the Dexter lineup of Falcons, you could have argued that could have been the 10th best team in the world. This is literally the argument, Kassad. You'd rather be mezii than NiKo by your own logic.
Yeah.
In the old Falcons.
No. How can you say that?
Literally.
That's what you just said.
Dude,
I would rather be mezii than nerds.
No. At the time, okay, the thing is that even at the time that we were having this debate, Falcons was literally 10th on HLTV. Right. And so Pimp and I easily were like, oh yeah, we'd rather be NiKo. Yeah, we'd rather be NiKo at that time, because we believe that the team will get better around us, or like there's more mobility also in the future. Like, I'm not saying hard stuck there for 5 years. I'm saying
then it makes sense. If you want to be the number 1 player in the team instead, but going towards number 3, top 3, then I can understand it, right? That you want to.
It's not static.
That's where
we have faith. We have faith in our own ability that we're either going to get on better teams, or our team's going to get better around us.
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, would you rather be Steve Kerr in 1996, right, than fucking Clyde Drexler?
Or like Karl Malone or something like that.
Put it this way, look, this isn't the 10th best one, but this is actually a classic NBA debate. It's actually the most famous player ever for this is Charles Barkley. What people say is, like, think about inside the NBA. Would you rather be Kenny the Jet Smith, just a role player who got 2 rings, and you get to go, I have a ring? Or would you be Charles Barkley, like one of the most greatest players of all time, who has no rings, but we all know was better than Kenny the Jet Smith? Believe it or not, most people would say, I think, if they're in the modern day, would actually say be Kenny with the fucking rings. But I've never got it. I'm with you, Maui. I would always rather be Charles Barkley, be one of the best players ever. And if I didn't win, so be it. But I was the man, you know.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm going to be a part of the team that's going to be successful and winning, I will fucking do whatever it takes. I'll be the Kenny whatever. I'll be the not Charles Barkley, but the Robert Torrey or Steve Kerr or whatever the fuck you like. It's fine. if I contribute any way that I can, that people that are actually better than me can do their best. Who gives
Well,
a
I
fuck?
can actually say as a fact, a lot of people won't know, after seeing Kassad's playing career, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's way, you think when he was playing with NiKo and Janko, he was the star. No, he was the one going, can I have a turn holding the trophy now at this dog shit Serbian tournament?
Listen, still, it was the beginning. When I was playing, I was playing for NiKo to leave the trophy.
We got him, lads.
NiKo and Janko to leave the trophy.
Of course, yeah, we got him.
But
we got him.
The point stands, right? It's just I would personally,
Anyway, Maui was making a point off this. So where was this going, Maui? I get the framing, but where does this go on this mezii versus NiKo thing?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, what the exact take again for it? I kind of lost it.
It was the idea that he had better ratings than NiKo in the Melbourne finals. That he's in harder positions, but he's getting a good rating. And then like NiKo's has all this freedom, but doesn't have better stats or some shit like that. Something like that.
That's that's just the most cherry picked thing ever. It's
a stupid take. Like these guys should leave.
But here's my take, because this is actually a meta take that isn't really specifically about these players. It's actually about how fans now you see. By the way, does this take not make you understand why I actually am really annoyed by the fact that people are obsessed with stats in CS? Because notice how the stats are leading the take, not complementing the take. So the problem here is one of the things he is doing one of the worst examples, and this is the worst thing about HLTV rating. HLTV rating might make some sense if you view role for role, and at least people who have similar styles of that role. Then you could compare them, and even then you'd have to look at who they played and what maps. And there's a million other. But notice, by the way, he doesn't consider what maps we play and what our team's good on and what we're not on. So one of the problems with this is you've used raw rating for a player on not just the best team in the world, but a team that is so insane it is inflating everyone's ratings, a la Astralis 2018, and you are then directly comparing like it's a 1-for-1 number, like this is number of goals scored, with like a player who's way better by the eye test, but his team isn't quite as good, and especially wasn't until recently, until they got mezii. So my problem is this is one of the worst apples versus oranges comparisons I've seen, because what you're acting like is, first of all, notice an assumption you're making is that rating is identically uniform. So by his logic, when Ziwu gets a 1.05, that's the same as mezii getting a 1.05. No. If mezii gets a 1.05, he probably killed his role. If Ziwu gets a 1.05, he was probably shit in that game. Like, I know
they lost.
Yeah. And then similarly, a kill is not a kill. The kill that mezii gets is not the kill that only NiKo could get out of NiKo and mezii. You know what I mean? The difference is I could put NiKo in a scenario where mezii would never get the kill and NiKo would get the kill quite often, and it doesn't matter to me at the end of the game if mezii has more kills. And then lastly, I'll also throw this out there. Notice one of the flaws with what you just compared, my dude. You made an actual match where they played against each other. Shall I tell you a reason why NiKo could never have had necessarily his good stats? He wasn't playing with Vitality. Like, mezii was playing on Vitality, NiKo was playing versus Vitality. By the way, that take will age very badly in the future when Vitality is considered like a top 10 team to ever play the game. Like, that's going to look really... Meanwhile, Falcons, who knows where they'll be? So, already that one doesn't make sense either. And then the last one I would say is this. Bro, that's really unfair using the Melbourne final. That was the first tournament they got mezii, and you played a full BO5, bro. Like, we haven't had time to crack all these fucking maps with the new player. Meanwhile, Vitality just has their real roster that's fully powered up. Give me a break. Like, you almost couldn't set this up to be worse for NiKo in this scenario. And then finally, the eye test doesn't check out anyway, even after saying all that. And what's funny about this one is, I'm a massive mezii defender, but this is just so stupid. Because in this scenario, you're asking me to compare him to, like Kassad said, like, one of the, like, 4 most important players in Counter-Strike, even today. Like, mezii isn't even in that convo. I can have the one of, like, he's doing a great job
in his role. Not even in the league. No. Like, if he goes tomorrow and, like, doesn't play for 6 months, you think the CS will, just stop or something, or it will be fucking relevant or whatever. Like, it won't.
Here's what he should have done. I actually think he fucked up because he expressed himself poorly. I think what he meant was, remember, the first sentence was, mezii is a better big game player than NiKo. You should have said something like, mezii is a better big game player solely relative to the role that he plays compared to the role that NiKo plays. As in, if you think NiKo, because that way, then it wouldn't be about having higher numbers, would it? It would be about the idea mezii gets everything out of his role, and then NiKo maybe sometimes...
Yeah, that would also be
It'd still be a hard one. It'd still be a hard one, but at least that could...
But there are arguments. There are arguments. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because there are games where NiKo in his role didn't deliver as much as the, Donk would or whatever.
The difference is that one's fairer.
delivers a lot on his role. Yeah, I get it.
That one's fairer because
I
also
learned the lesson.
We also don't expect as much of mezii. So to me, mezii's game is more about bring the floor up. NiKo's has hit the ceiling. I think you're asking a totally different thing. Essentially, by the way, I will give one quick analogy from history though. This is why I do think Astralis 28. Maybe this is the hot take. Astralis 2018 is literally overrated individually for exactly this reason. I always told people, bro, do you actually think you can take those Zipniks and Glaive fragging numbers out of that team and act like that would happen in every other squad and that's just who they are as players? No. Like, one thing I always said is that Zipniks ended up, he went from being underrated to mega overrated. And I once did a video on this because I pointed out, think about if you were Zipniks in that team. Remember, when you get to that clutch round, you have the best comms in the industry have commed everything to you. You're on the best tactical team where the IGL and the second IGL are comming everything that's happening in the round. You're also getting more damaged opponents you're facing in the 1vx than like simple on fucking a team where Zeus and Edward just sold him out down the river at the beginning of the round. Like, you're just getting so many extra things that will pump your percentages and your rating up. Whereas, like, the other guy doesn't get that who plays in a team that sucks who plays the same role. You know, it's not 1-for-1. So, anyway, as usual, that was one of those fan ones that we all bag on. It's all good.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.